All right,
Go for it.
we're live.
Hey again. Thanks for checking us out today. You picked a good one because we have a guest who's here to talk about, among other things, my favorite topic in the world, the Ohio State University. Before I introduce him, let's quickly meet
All right,
tonight's team from Mean Joe Advertising: Anthony Taylor, Bradley Simon, and
Hey.
DJ Renob, Mike Bloomstein.
DJ Rena.
Stephanie Keogh is on assignment, so she's not joining us this time. All right, on to our guest. I really got to know our guest a few years ago when we bumped into each other on the beach at Coco Cay during an excursion from the Buckeye Cruise for Cancer. We may or may not have had a bunch of adult beverages before heading back to the ship to take on some Johnny Rockets. But I had met him a couple of times when he worked at ESPN 850 WKNR in Cleveland, where he worked with some of our favorite people, including our very own Mike Bloomstein. And we had the pleasure of working with him on behalf of one of our partners on a partnership with Ohio State Athletics. He's a great guy and a fun dude with a ton of experience in sports marketing and partnerships. From St. Ignatius High School and Case Western Reserve University, he's a senior manager, business development at Ohio State Properties, Learfield, IMG College. Give it up for my man, Patrick Smith.
Nice. Thanks, Todd. I appreciate it. Todd, Brad, Anthony, Mike. It's great to be here. So really looking forward to it.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Before we get started, we want to thank anybody who took time to submit questions. If you do have any questions while we're going, just drop them in the chat below and we'll answer them as we see them. Also, say OH in the chat so we know who's here and so we can give you an IO back. Start it off the way we always do and see what everybody's drinking. Let's start with Anthony.
Representing for Columbus, and probably one of my favorite beers, Clear Sky Daybreak from Wolf's Ridge Brewing Company down in Columbus, right off High Street.
Nice. Bradley.
Nice.
I'm going with a Goose Island IPA.
Nicely done.
There you go, Shad City.
Michael.
Well, Dulicon Erie beer out of, we got to do it. Little Masters.
Cup.
Nice.
2018, what a good year.
Run. Pat, I'm gonna go to you next.
I'm keeping it simple. I'm going with Coca-Cola, official drink of Ohio State Athletics. So
There you
gotta keep it
go.
real.
In the glass
Very,
bottle.
very corporate.
I like it.
Mhm.
I'm going with a Mad Elf.
Ooh, there you go.
And I'm going to use my very special bottle opener to open it, if it will.
Oh, here we go.
See if you guys can hear it. The battery's dead. It doesn't play anymore. It used to play the fight song.
I
And it's
think
going into the Papa Joe's pint glass.
Oh, yeah.
I think Munch used to have one of those at ESPN
Fight
Cleveland.
song.
Oh, for sure. It was
Yeah,
next
he
to
would
all
pop
of
that
his,
open and yeah.
it was next to all of his
There you
munch
go.
bars.
Good to see everybody.
Cheers.
Cheers.
All right, so there's been some debate about this. We figure we're just going to leave it up to you to let everybody know. Tell us what you do, Pat.
What do I do? So Learfield IMG College, we manage the multimedia rights for Ohio State University. So Learfield IMG College is a larger corporation. We represent about 200 universities and properties across the country. Initially, it was IMG College and Learfield were competitors, and we recently merged about, I want to say probably about 8 to 9 months ago. So anything that is, to simplify it, it's really anything that's affiliated with Ohio State Athletics and corporate partnerships, we help the university to manage. So anything from use of marks to radio network, in-venue promotion, on-site, anything of that sort, we help to negotiate and manage for Ohio State Athletics.
Great. Now, before you went to work there, were you a big Buckeye fan?
I was, yeah. So grew up in Ohio, had a stint in New York for about, let's say 5.5 years, but my dad is he's an alumni, went to medical school here. So was always kind of born and raised on the Buckeyes and, really, that's kind of where the passion came from. So when I was working with ESPN Cleveland, we were the affiliate the Cleveland affiliate for Ohio State. Got to know the team down here pretty well, and then it just kind of, there was an opportunity, and was able to take advantage of it. And we've been down in Columbus now for going on about 5 years right now. So
Nice. So I kind of know my answer to this personally, but this is probably a personal thing. How important do you think it is to be a fan of the property that you're representing?
It's, I don't want to say it's qualification. I think it's important to know the landscape of what you're getting into. There's a lot of individuals out there, and kids going through college that want to get into sports because they're a fan of such and such a team. We've seen sometimes that fandom can kind of cloud some judgment, and you get a little bit too excited over things, and that can lead to, you can almost lose sight of kind of what your purpose of being with the team or organization is. So it's, I think just working with a property or brand helps you become a fan at heart, and it comes out in game days and when you're working there. But the true emphasis needs to be about the partners you're working with, what their goals are, how you help them affiliate with that brand, and really reach the community and what their objectives are.
Perfect. I mean, that actually started to answer my next question. So what your purpose really is. So, the idea of this talk is that hopefully there's somebody out there who's watching either now or live, or will be watching it at some point, and wondering, hey, is this something for me? So hopefully you're going to give some insight into that. Talk about that purpose and what it is that you are doing when you're quote unquote selling somebody a partnership to Ohio State. But what is that really doing for them?
Yeah, so I mean, it's a different number of things, right? Just depending on who the partner is, what their objectives are. We deal with partners that are larger Fortune 500 companies. We deal with partners that are local, more localized, that really are looking for different initiatives. So what we try to do is, one, we want to work in conjunction with athletics and the university very closely when developing certain partnerships. But the most important thing is to go in and understand what they want to get out of a partnership with Ohio State, and how we can help execute that on our platform. So again, it's everything from community plays to, hey, we just want to have brand awareness and do media. There's a lot of corporations that really want to affiliate with the brand and have that use of marks and intellectual property, and be able to push that out and show that pride and affiliation. The one thing that we have going for us that we never try to take for granted is we're very fortunate to have such a passionate and large fan base and following, and we never try to forget that. But that's a large part of it. But you also have to be able to work with your partners on executing a game plan to meet their objectives, because without that, without the planning and the strategy and that ability to kind of put that messaging out there and achieve what they want, then you can lose sight of what that's about.
Nice. Is there? I'm sure there is, and I hate to put you on the spot a little, but I'm going to a little bit. Is there a program that you put together for somebody, large, small, medium, where everything was kind of clearly defined at the beginning what they really wanted to accomplish? You guys were able to come up with a really cool, creative solution, and I'm sure this happens all the time, so it's not like there's just one, but one that you would share, where, and then afterward, man, everyone was thrilled, like run investment, and it stands out as a great case study.
Sure. I actually have them right here. So Safe Light Auto Glass, they, it just happens to be here, but they, they're a big partner of Ohio State Athletics, and one of their main assets is the field goal net at the north end of Ohio Stadium. So they have the branded Safe Light Auto Glass. One of the initiatives that they wanted to grow their partnership with is, hey, we really want to kind of expand into community outreach and show that extension of the branded net into the community. So in collaboration with them, we came up with a campaign or an execution that we called Kicks for Kids. So essentially, every successful extra point and field goal made at Ohio Stadium by Ohio State Safe Light Auto Glass would donate $500 a kid again, which is a local Columbus foundation that is also has a presence in Cleveland. They do phenomenal work. So what we did is we were able to implement that, but also build it into outward-facing promotional assets too. So it really achieved a lot of different things, right? It allowed them to take the asset that they're most proud of and kind of show that and expand that into the community. So this was from last year. They raised $26,500 for a Kid Again Foundation, and we're able to kind of incorporate that, in venue on game day, have the guys talk about it on the radio across the network, and then have a check presentation to a Kid Again at a basketball game, as soon as the football season's done. So they're successful, and it's not really only for the corporate. It's not really for corporate. It's more for, a Kid Again and being able to show that affiliation with the community.
Mm-hmm. That's great. I'm sure there's a ton of them that I know from, experience that there are. So That's great. Anybody have a question for Pat?
I was wondering if there's one, because I mean,
anyone not named Mike Bloomstein have a question?
Yeah.
I'm dying.
DJ Renob here, all right. But at ESPN Cleveland, it's like, all right, let's start with the biggest idea. Let's think of just without any budget or anything. Is there anything now at Ohio State where you just come up with what's the craziest idea you've ever presented or come up with for a partner that they don't have to obviously agree to it, but I don't know, how wild can you guys get with kind of customizing?
Yeah, there's different things that we'll come up with, but what we really try to do is try to do that fact find before going to them with an idea and kind of stay at least within those concepts. So from our standpoint, we can come up with large ideas, but we also have a lot of parameters to work within, just with the affiliation with the university. So we have to. Ohio State's it's a very powerful brand, and they monitor it very closely. So there's a lot of different rules and regulations that from a college space we need to operate in that say wouldn't necessarily translate to the professional space. So there's a couple of those, but they're not very common because we kind of really are able to formulate ideas within a lot of our platforms that we work with. I would say one of the things that we've done probably over the past 5 or 6 years is we developed a platform called Buckeyes Care to help our some of our partners that want to reach the community and kind of be an advocate for that, attach their brand and what they do for the community to a Buckeyes Care platform. So there's things like that, but we try to operate within certain parameters as well.
Simple no would have been fine.
Yeah.
Pat, I think people would be pretty impressed with the level of community impact that you guys drive. I think a lot of times when you think university or when you think NCAA, you don't always think of how they're impacting the greater Columbus area or whatever city it is. How did that come about? Was it kind of a natural transition? Have you seen that come within the last couple of years? Was it in response to the partners?
With a community focus, you're talking about? Just how does that happen? Yeah, I think it's become. Yeah, I think it's become more of just sports partnerships can continue to evolve. I think we're long past the days of, hey, here's an in-venue sign, buy it, right? That's not what we're about. We're about making an association with the brand, taking that association and making it something bigger for the partner that we work with and bigger for the causes that they want to support. So I guess that's how it came about. It just kind of evolved. It's not, here's a sign and here's some radio and here's this and that. The days of that are kind of past, and it's more about how can we get innovative, how can we use different platforms and different assets to really kind of have that additional outreach.
So Pat, when
go ahead, Brad.
When a brand comes to you with an idea or just looking to get a partnership, Is there like a general thing that they're looking for the most? Is it brand recognition? Is it just the reach that Ohio State has? Is it the use of the trademarks? Is it, what's the biggest thing they're looking for?
I think all of the above to start, right? But then it's all about, how do you manage expectation? There's certain investment thresholds for certain categories, that we have to, that come with certain assets like use of marks and things like that. So I think it's, hey, let's kind of start with all of that, and then let's really, through a good fact find, kind of drill down to see what really makes sense with not only what your goals are, but then also with what you're comfortable with from an investment standpoint, and then how do we incorporate all of that into a good game plan.
Nice. So I think this is our like 7th time doing this, maybe
Yeah.
8th. I'm not good.
7.
And so they're going to be time stamped forever, because I feel like every time we talk and when we have a guest, we end up talking about what things have been like since about mid-March. So people are going to know that these all kind of went down during this time, but I think it's important to know, like, what has life been in your role, since mid-March, and with stay-home orders and working remotely, and like for you and your gig is, and working with partners, and uncertainty of, the season and things like that.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think like most of us, it's been a huge adjustment. I mean, not only just the working from home part, which I think we could all adapt to in some form, but having 2 kids, 2 daughters at home. I have a 6 and a 9-year-old, and trying to help with homeschooling, and a wife who works in Columbus City schools as well. And so trying to adjust to all of that just from a time management and scheduling standpoint was very difficult. From a just from partnership standpoint and what the season looks like, that's a whole nother realm, because we're still waiting to find that out, right? But I think a lot of it is trying to, we are trying to contact as many partners as we can, kind of talk through, one, first and foremost, see how they were doing. It was a shock. It was a shock to everybody. So make sure everybody's doing okay physically, mentally, and they're all able to kind of move along, and help where we can. And then as things kind of progress, now there's a lot of there's some questions about the season, what that could look like. Fortunately, it seems to be going in the right direction. I think each day that passes, we're getting better and better news about what things could look like, not only from a fan attendance standpoint, but let's be honest, 2 months ago there was questions whether or not we were going to play the college football season. Now that question seems to be just what's it going to look like. So for us now, really the main goal is trying to sit down with all our partners and say, hey, this is, here's a lot of different scenarios of what things could look like. We don't have all the answers. We don't know what's going to be set in stone, but let's start preparing. So for us, it's about creating, it's much different than a normal season, going in with one plan. And we have a plan for each partner and activation, and we can kind of follow it. Now it's okay. We have 4 or 5 different scenarios. But let's prepare. Let's do our best. We don't know which one's gonna happen. It could be all of them in some levels, right? It could start with 15,000 fans, and then it could go up to 3/4 capacity. We have no idea. So it's just about really preparing, managing expectations, sitting down and trying to plan as best we can without having all the answers.
Mm-hmm. So for those partners who rely heavily on like the fan experience across the street from the stadium, I think,
Yeah.
is it called FanFest?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
So you guys have a contingency plan right now for those partners of how to help them achieve as close to as possible if that were not to happen, or those are the kind of conversations that you guys are having.
And I would be cautious to even say we have a contingency plan. It's more of here's, until we know what it's going to look like, and I think we'll have a little bit more clarity the next couple weeks. I think the Big Ten ADs are getting together, I believe, Sunday to kind of start to discuss, some different scenarios. So it's really too early to have set contingency plans, because there's different, each partner that we work with values different assets in different ways. So whereas for one, FanFest, may not be as important, and it's kind of more of something that's football season. Now, others where they're really focusing on data collection and driving leads and things of that, FanFest may be very important. So they're going to value things that, in different capacities, and it's our job to sit down with them and try to think of viable solutions on how we move forward with this, but still are able to activate their overall partnership with Ohio State.
Would you say that right now is a good time for a business that's interested to be inquiring and be in talks about it, or is it more challenging? And by the way, I guess we should say this: when we talk about Ohio State athletics, we're not just talking about football, even though somehow or other that's probably the thing that we all have in our mind. I mean,
Of course, yeah.
There are other assets.
Yeah, the sailing team,
Sure. He's still here. So yeah, no, if you're asking me, I'm going to say anytime's a good time, right? Because I think the way, again, I go back to we're extremely fortunate. We never lose sight of the brand that we represent, and the following that it has, and what that means to millions and millions of fans, right? So especially now, I think it's more important than ever to look at any partnership, whether it's with professional teams, the Indians, Cavs, Browns, Ohio State athletics, to look at that as an extension of the brand and more of as a lifestyle, other than, hey, we have these assets that we activate on, right? So there's ways to still be proud of that, promote that, and keep that affiliation. But just because there's probably going to be some alterations with the season, I don't think it should deter corporations from exploring, because there's always, things will get back to normal at some point. And once they do, the demand is going to be bigger than it ever has been for live sports, especially a platform like college football. And that's going to be a really special time. And we know it's coming, and it's just about being patient and thinking through it, in a logical fashion. And until then, doing what we can.
Yeah. And fan wise, even if that isn't something that starts off, right off the get go at the first kickoff or at all, there's broadcast. And I feel like as long as the games are going on, broadcast is going to be huge, especially if there's it's going to be anyway, but especially if fans are not joining in on the live fun.
No, that's 100% correct. And we're looking at it now, right? So we're looking at certain things and saying, okay, we're 90% certain that this is going to be, have an activation, and the broadcast media is definitely at the top of that list, especially from the reach that we get from our radio network, right? Covering 88 affiliates, reaching 2.2 million unique listeners, 12 million overall when you take in basketball and football. But that's going to be, for people who can't go to the game, they're going to want to watch on TV. They're going to want to listen. And we have so many fans that I've spoke with here, and a lot of partners, and I'm sure you can relate to this, that they'll turn it on TV, and then in the background they have the radio going because they want to hear Paul Keels, because that's what it's kind of like the Browns with Jim Donovan, right? It's that hometown voice and that voice of Buckeye Nation that they really like to hear. So we're looking at radio especially as being one of those premium assets, just because of the limited supply that will probably affect the attendance in stadium.
And I guess I just got to say this, since Bradley's wearing the jersey right now, and I don't want to leave him out, but if you watch an Indians game and you turn it up, you turn on the radio and listen to Hammy,
Hammy, of course, yeah,
that's pretty awesome. Yeah,
it's way better.
MLB TV's set it up where you can watch the game and it's synced up with
overlaid.
It's
like if you walk around, Todd, you know this for sure. If you go down to Ohio State football game on a regular game day and you have 105,000 plus in the shoe, and you'll walk around the stadium, you'll walk all around campus, and tailgates are still going, and they have their huge flat screens going, and they're on mute, and in the background you have Keels calling the game, and that's just kind of what they do. It's a tradition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Frankly, yeah. Frankly.
Frankly, I only eat Smiths.
Oh, I didn't
Pat,
notice that.
Hot
That's kind
dog
of
pun.
disturbing. Yeah.
I have to ask because I think if we had this conversation 2 months ago, it probably would have been one of the first questions. With the NCAA changing their viewpoint on players being able to use their image and likeness,
Right.
and I'm not asking for an official statement from IMG here, but have you heard rumblings of how that's going to look? Is there a plan in place to be able to leverage that in the future?
Yeah. It's going up to vote, so it's definitely a possibility. There's some ADs and schools that are against it. There's a lot that are for it. What it would look like if it does happen, there's so many moving parts that I couldn't even tell you, because there's so many factors, right? You're going to have the individual student athlete, then you're going to have, obviously, Gene Smith here. He would be extremely involved, and he's a big advocate for making sure that if this happens, that it's done right and done in a very appropriate fashion. So, you'd have the school, you have the university, and then, we would probably play a role in that as well. But from what that would look like, again, there's so many moving parts, so many institutions, so many things to kind of iron out. I don't know what the specifics would be, but it could be a very good opportunity for student athletes now, and ones that could have those different opportunities from an endorsement standpoint or social media or things like that. But I think one of the big things there is, how do you control it? How do you monitor it? I think once we can put those safeguards in place and there's a system, I think it could be, it could be extremely beneficial. But it's just about trying to figure that out. And I think they're voting in January, and if it goes forward, I think the earliest it would be instituted would be June of 21. So still a lot to figure out, but it's definitely going to be interesting to watch it develop.
Yeah, I don't envy your position necessarily in the fact, when you think professional sports, you have the team, the league, and the city. When you think college sports, you've got the university, the NCAA, the city, the student body, the alumni. I mean, there's so many stakeholders in it that have a part in this decision. You got a lot of people to make happy.
Well, and it's that, and it also comes down to, it's got to be fair for all the Division I NCAA institutions, right? So, does it automatically give like a UCLA, a USC, and Ohio State, being in Columbus with all the different corporations, that sort of immediate advantage to for those high profile recruits, and even compound the advantage that they already seem to have, right? So, how does that come into play as well will be interesting, because if you're a 5-star athlete coming out of high school, and normally you would be looking at, I don't know, I'm throwing names out there, say Iowa versus an Ohio State or a Michigan, it might skew it just because of that. So that'll come into play too, just from an opportunity standpoint for the student athletes.
I'm surprised you're allowed to say that word.
Yeah,
I know it slipped. It slipped. You
we're gonna beep that out.
Bleep it out.
So I thought where Anthony was going is, if we would have done this 2 months ago, we would have been talking about how the Buckeyes just won the NCAA basketball
tournament. Yeah, we got robbed.
Right?
Yeah, right, dude. Providence was the hottest team coming in. So hot. Coach Cooley, baby.
Like, how many of those IPAs have you had
today?
Yeah. Providence was going to win that
one. Dude.
So, but let's talk about basketball, because I think most people probably can imagine football. You got the stadium, you got the fan fest, TV, radio, all that stuff. Talk about a little bit about basketball and some of the different opportunities, because it's a little bit different, right?
Yeah, I mean, basketball's very different, just in the fact that a lot of the there's some different hospitality options that come with football that you really can't, that just aren't available with basketball. But I think from a basketball standpoint, what Coach Holtman has done for the program over the last 3 years has been great. To replace someone like Coach Vada and, just kind of and develop the program where it is. As you know, the Schottenstein Center is pretty large for a college basketball arena, and there's it's much bigger than St. John's, bigger than St. John was. So it's kind of it's a tough arena to fill, right? But there's a lot of opportunities there, especially just from the way the program's going, the interest in the team, and what just the overall vibe is around basketball. And I think it's a really cool opportunity too. I think you don't have the tailgating and you don't have certain things, but what you do have is 3 to 3.5 hours of fans packing into the Shot, and a team that's all that right now are going to be perennial NCAA contenders. So it's a really cool vibe.
One of the things that I had in my head to ask you that I didn't have a reminder for, you just brought up, is hospitality. And I kind of have two questions, because I think, there's no question way, but there's a lot of people who, near the top of their list of the reasons why they might want to have a partnership with a professional, because it comes with hospitality, or it can come with hospitality.
Mm-hmm.
Talk a little bit about that, so that anybody who's watching who doesn't necessarily know, or who doesn't want to be the person who asks, knows some of the things that you guys do and can do. And
yeah, I mean, hospitality is that's become a pretty big focus, and a bigger and bigger focus for corporations, just from an associate engagement standpoint. I mean, that plays a big role in B2B and relationship building and things that they can do to really. It also brings a very tangible a tangible piece to their association with Ohio State athletics. If I'm a corporation, I can say, hey, come down to and you're a client or a potential client, or or an employee, come down to the game, come down to the shoe on a Saturday. There's from our standpoint, we have corporate hospitality that sets up 3 hours prior to each game. There's ability to put together packages with not only season tickets, but suite access, sideline access. For basketball, very much the same: suite access, courtside access to different areas, within the arena and within the stadium that, are kind of that next level hospitality experience. At the shoe, they just built out that new loge area, which is really nice. I don't know if you've been there, but it's incredible what they've done there with the loge box area and all the different amenities that they've put in. And then it's those outside game day experiences too, that we're able to provide, whether that's going to a coach's radio show, the ability to meet and greet with Coach Day, Coach Holtman, bring partners, have a catered lunch, listen to Paul Keels, Jim Lachey, kind of do the show, and have those in those cool venues, like the Woody Hayes Athletic Center, the boardroom at the Schottenstein Center. And then there's different away game opportunities too that we can create. But hospitality from that standpoint has become a very important aspect of partners when they're looking to kind of build relationships with what we do with Ohio State.
You mentioned this early. There's lots of people who go to college and they have this dream of working in sports, and we were kind of talking about that whole "you have to be a fan" thing. And so I guess I'll preface this by saying that I know it's not why you do what you do. And, the number one thing is to take care of partners and make sure that you're executing and coordinating and really delivering or over delivering on promises. But your job does come with some perks, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure. Yeah, it definitely does. We'll look at game days a little bit differently than fans or our partners do. But the great thing about it is, and you try never to lose sight of it. When game day on a Saturday, especially for football, for us can be 9 to 10 hours. We're for a noon kickoff. We're up by 6 a.m. We're getting down there. We're making sure stuff's prepped and everything's ready and our hospitality's set to go. But it's cool because it really creates a relationship and a bond with your partners and associates that you really can't get anywhere else. To be able to share that game day experience, be able to share it with your partner's families, associates' families. It's a really cool bond that just kind of comes with it. Plus, you get the added element of experiencing a game day, whether in the shot or the horseshoe, and sharing that experience, it's really cool. So it does provide a certain perk to it, but it's also a great bonding experience as well, just to help build those relationships.
Nice. Who's next?
This is so dumb, but going to Providence College. I mean, we only had basketball.
You don't really have to say that before anything you say.
Yeah, I get it. No. But so Providence College doesn't have a football team. We have basketball, and it's downtown. So you'd have to get on a bus or something. But could you? I mean, for the people that haven't been to a tailgate or like a game day, what is that like?
It's crazy. I've been spoiled. I'm a little bit used to it, but we really see it, especially when we have people that come in from outside of Ohio that really don't understand and think, okay, I'm going to, I'm just going to a different stadium to watch, the same old thing. But everything just from, and not only college football, but I think Ohio State in particular, just from all the traditions, the passion that goes into it. I mean, all the different things, it's not just tailgating before the game. It's all the tradition that comes along with it, with the band, going into St. John Arena with the Skull Session, the team walk, playing in Script, Ohio, all of that. You just can't get that anywhere else. A stadium of almost 110,000 screaming fans.
That's crazy.
And it's shit, everywhere you turn, there's cars, there's groups, and it's not, it doesn't get out of hand. It's very family friendly, I would say. And it's just a really cool experience. And it's really fun to see people's faces when they experience for the first time, because they really think they know what they're walking into, and then they walk out of it like I've never seen anything like this. So we can take it for granted at times. We try not to, but it really is one of probably the best experiences in all of sports.
That's something I've always been just jealous of. Is I didn't go to a school that had a football team where, I mean, even if I went to, I've been to my brother's Boston College football games, and those are nice. But I just see like Ohio State tailgates and all my friends going down to an Ohio State game, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this looks so great. It
does. I wish I had a way to eat onto one.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I wish there was some way.
Consider it done. If there's a season with fans in the stand.
Yeah, I'm one of the 12,000. I'm one of the 12,000.
We'll do a Mean Joe team.
Oh.
But I'll add on to it, because I don't even know why you asked Pat. You should have just asked me. But I've been on road trips with college buddies, and we've been to Texas, and we've been to Oklahoma, and we've Penn State and other Big Ten schools, and some of the other out of conference places, and they have their scene, whatever it might be, but. And I there's been some cool ones, and I know that there's some around the country, like the Grove at Ole Miss, and there's these places that you hear about where it's it's pretty legendary too. But I've had friends in from other places also, from like Miami, Florida, and they're just beyond blown away, impressed with what's going on. But it is interesting, and I mentioned at the beginning the Buckeye Cruise for Cancer that Pat and I were on, and it's amazing because. Like I always say, if the world were like that cruise, we wouldn't be having any of the things that are going on right now, like protests. Like everybody just loves everybody because you have this this thing in common, and like the world should be like that. And It's kind of like that on game day also. You know what I mean? It's just like everybody has this one thing in common, and that's all that really matters. And just everyone's there to be happy and have a good time. And you only have like 7 or 8 of them or whatever a year.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, and I mean, it takes over the entire Friday through pretty much Sunday morning. I mean, when you have people showing up that have parking spots, in the west lot or east lot, and they're showing up Friday at 5:30 p.m. just to claim their tailgate spots and just staying there. I mean, it's crazy. But that's
cook dinner, cook breakfast, cook lunch, and then go to the game.
Yeah, I mean, it is great, and again, those are the things that we never take for granted. Just because, I mean, we're very fortunate to represent the Ohio State brand and everything that comes along with it. So
That's pretty cool.
Pat, this is one of my favorite questions that I get asked all the time, and I'm going to give a footnote to Adam Hood from Perfect Power Wash.
Yeah.
But what's a question that we should be asking you?
It's a question you should.
Question.
Yeah, gee, that's a loaded question. So are you talking just
in
from
other
a
words,
professional
like,
standpoint?
if you would love for us to ask you this question, so you would get to give the answer. Kind of is the way I'm asking it, I guess.
I would say, what's your why or what motivates you? I think is always a good one. So I think that really tells why people are doing what they do.
All right, what's your why?
That's an unfair question. No, it's I would say, for me, this is always in relationship building, and it can be very stressful at times doing what we do, but I think it's about being upfront and building that foundation and that trust with everyone you work with, not only corporate partners, but internally with employees, with the university. There's so many moving parts to what we do. To be able to have all those tiers of relationships, and so everybody's working together to almost make that perfect storm, can be so gratifying, especially on a game day when you see something come together that you've been working on, countless hours from a campaign standpoint, or for something that one of your partners wants to see come to fruition, and then to get that feedback and just what it meant to them and how they were able to just kind of push that out and help their initiatives, I think is really cool, and that is something that I've always enjoyed. I've always enjoyed kind of the relationship and being able to build that, just in all facets.
Nice. If somebody's watching and they have some interest in learning more about how they could get involved and potentially become a partner of Ohio State athletics, how can they get a hold of you?
Here, can you just blast this out? No, I'm just kidding. No, that's fine. Go to Learfield. It's Learfield.com, or just go to Ohio State Sports Properties. If you go to Learfield.com or LearfieldIMGCollege.com, either will take you there, and you can search the properties, and it'll kind of give a synopsis of what we do, who's on our team, all the different things that we work with. So that would be the best way.
Cool. All right. What else? Anyone have a last question or two before I jump to a 2-minute drill here, or a 15-minute drill?
No.
Remember, we're not trying to fill dead air here. We can go 2 minutes.
Yeah, no, I know. All right, Pat.
Well, let's get him out of here.
Let's get out of here.
It's been so welcoming. Thank you. Let's do it again next week.
Yeah. You're our fifth mic.
All right, you ready? I got a bunch of questions here. Give everybody a chance to get to know Pat Smith a little bit better after you've shared so much good insight into sports marketing at Ohio State. All right, first question. If you could trademark one word, what would it be?
Oh, geez. If I could trademark one word, what would it be? Come on. You can do this to me?
Come on.
I would say blarts. It's an inside joke. Don't worry about it. Blarts would be it.
All right. If you were walking down the street and coming from the other direction was Tony Rizzo and he saw you, what would he call you?
Rizzo would probably call me Patty Boy, or probably Patty Boy.
Okay.
Or Pat, yeah.
P
would be, yeah, that might be a safe one too.
Nice. Tell us an important lesson or an important thing that you learned when you worked with Good Karma.
The one thing that Sam always ingrained is to not do what's in it for you, but what's good for the partner. So when you go into a meeting, if you're going in one-sided, listening to, all right, well, I really don't care what they're saying because I have an agenda that I want to push, that's never going to work. So, the best lesson I learned from there, and Sam's awesome. So it's always been listen and put their motivation or put their needs first, and put what their goals are first. And he always said the best first meeting is one where you don't say anything. If the other person just talks and talks and talks, I always say that's the best first meeting. That really is something that I try to still instill today.
Yeah, awesome. Tell us about your very first sale.
Oh geez, probably newspaper out, man. When I was in the third grade, Sun Herald. I'd go door to door, and I'd not only deliver, then I would try to pick up new subscribers, and just going in. I think they taught me this. You try to dress like you really needed the money. So holes in jeans, and go up with your book, and hey, I'm selling this subscription for this, and yeah, it was great. It was leading into the holidays too, so that always kind of pulled on heartstrings. So I crushed it that day. It was awesome. I did down in Rocky River, Kenwood, Maplewood, up and down. I think I got like 5 new subscribers in one day. Great.
That's a record that still stands.
Yeah, because they don't deliver the papers in.
All right, so you live in Columbus, but you're a Cleveland guy. Let's run through a few of these. Who's your favorite Cleveland Browns player ever?
Hanford Dixon. Love it. Dog pound, all that stuff. Love Hanford.
That's great. Favorite Cleveland Cavaliers player ever?
Ron Harper. I always loved Ron Harper. When he came out, I just always, back in the day, he was always the guy going up against MJ. It was either him or Eli. I just always loved the Harper and the battles with the Cavs and the Bulls. Yeah, Ronnie Harper.
Did you watch The Last Dance?
I did.
And you saw what he had to say about guarding?
I did when he put me on MJ. Yeah, I saw that with some expletives thrown around, which he's always been my favorite Cav. Yeah.
Nice. And favorite Cleveland Indians player ever?
I'm gonna go. So that's a toss-up between Ramirez and Kenny Lofton, but I'm gonna go Kenny. I'm gonna go Kenny.
You have a favorite TV show of all time?
It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Love it.
That's right. Anthony hates that show. He thinks it's the dumbest show ever.
What?
Do you really?
I can't stand it. I'm sorry.
I don't like it that much, but it's not dumb. It's a pretty funny show.
It's unbelievable. It's a great show.
Hey, we agree on something, Mike.
Oh my God! Finally, Jesus.
It's almost as funny as that picture behind you. But
48 minutes.
We gotta zoom in on that one of these weeks.
Yeah.
All right. Next, favorite Ohio State player ever, and I didn't mention a sport.
Ever. So I'm going to go recently, and it's not a cop-out, but I'm going to say Chase Young. Just from I've never seen anyone, and we have the ability to kind of be down on the sidelines prior to games and pregame workouts, but he's the only person since I've been here in 5 years where if you're walking down the opposing team's tunnel, you hear he's getting in opposing players' heads immediately in warmups. You hear guys talking about him just by looking at him, and just that physical. He just looks so imposing. But I've always liked Chase.
Awesome. Favorite Buckeye coach ever?
Gee, you got to go ever. So that's any sport. I'm gonna go Urban. I think when he came in, at the time he came in, was so crucial to the success of the Ohio State brand moving forward, and to be able to pick that up. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, Luke Fickell was put in a really, really tough spot. But the way Urban was able to kind of come in and do what he did, I think, has really set the tone.
Favorite musical act, band, singer, performer?
Oh boy, Bruce Springsteen.
Excellent. All right. You live
Why
in
is Mike,
Columbus.
what do you? I
No,
didn't have a problem with it.
Good.
That was
Dog.
my answer too.
Sorry, it's not
Um,
Sugar Ray, Mike. I'm sorry.
It was out Everlast, actually.
So you live in you live in Columbus now. This is kind of that last meal spin. Like you're in Columbus. Which restaurant? And there's a lot to choose from. Are you going to for a last?
No question. Been a great partner of ours, Hyde Park Steakhouse. I love it there. They always have, they always treat. Sorry, I got the curfew alert going on. Got to get home soon. But it's they think the way that they treat their their clients and customers and their food second to none. So yeah, Hyde Park.
And when you come back to Cleveland, you're getting together, family, friends. First bar you want to go back to?
First bar we go back to. So it's generally Harry Buffalo in Lakewood. Buffalo around the corner. We'll kind of hit those areas. So it seems to be the west side and where a lot of people congregate. So
get to the buff.
Buff.
I was the voice of those commercials at KNR. Get to the buff.
Dynamite dropping, Mike.
Oh yeah, crushed it.
Oh man, Pat, thank you so much for.
No, guys, it's been fun.
Yeah, for coming on with us. This has been fun. Great, great hearing everything you had to say. Hopefully, there's people who watched live, or for anybody who's watching on YouTube, they're going to get some good insight. And if you guys are interested, you do business in Columbus, give Pat a call and talk to him. He's an excellent listener, and as you can tell, very focused on the success of his partners. And we'll do a good job to come up with solutions that will provide you with results, return on investment, and probably some pretty cool hospitality as well.
All right. Well, thanks, guys. I appreciate it, Todd. Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Anthony. Thanks, Bradley.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thanks, guys. Cheers.